The 2023 college football season is nearing its end, and the Heisman Trophy race is very narrow at the top. With one game left before the finalists are announced, the time is now to make your final attempt towards the beloved award. Varying from big-name quarterbacks to elite skill position players to the top dogs, this Heisman race is more interesting than it's been in a while. In this video, I go over 9 different candidates and determine which elite player is going to hoist the Heisman Trophy on December 9th. Let's begin with the underdogs of the pack. While I do not particularly believe any of these guys have a shot at the trophy, it is still worth noting the other top tier players who deserve recognition as some of the best players in the 2023 college football season. Georgia quarterback Carson Beck may have had a slow start to the 2023 season, but through the doubters, he's turned into one of the most efficient quarterbacks in college football. After Georgia moved on from Stetson Bennett, high standards were bound to be placed on the next guy up. And while Beck's not as statistically impressive, he's still shown to be a Heisman finalist contender. As I mentioned, Beck is one of the most efficient quarterbacks in college football. His completion percentage falls into 6th across all quarterbacks with at least 100 pass attempts, and his passer rating falls into 8th. He's stepped up in some big games, like against 20th ranked Kentucky where he threw for nearly 400 yards and 4 touchdowns, and against 18th ranked Tennessee where he went for 300 yards and 3 touchdowns on an 80% completion percentage. I'm thankful for FanSided for this statistic. There is only one quarterback at the FBS level with at least 250 yards throwing in 11 games. That quarterback's name is Carson Beck. Beck also falls into top tier QBR territory with his QBR being 6th on the list. And while he is an impressive quarterback, he's not impressive enough. He's had some dud performances, and those fellas have allowed for some teams to stay awfully close to Georgia. He threw no touchdowns against South Carolina and won by 10. He completed 65% of his passes and threw a pick against Georgia Tech and won by 8. He had a similar performance against Vanderbilt and won by 17, but that's the closest match in a hot minute between those two. Also, quarterbacking for the best team does not always translate to Heisman success, as Stetson Bennett's highest Heisman voting ever in his career was 4th. Beck has a crucial SEC championship game against Alabama coming up. If he can retain this success, he may fall into the top 5 once the trophy finalists are announced. Next up, we have the self-proclaimed Heisman Trophy winner. Jalen Milroe has definitely caught up with the rest of the pack with some incredible performances both in the air and on the ground. Could Milroe become the next Alabama player to win the Heisman? Milroe's momentum deserves a ton of recognition. Over the last 4 games, he's put together 909 passing yards, 297 rushing yards, and 15 total touchdowns. For comparison, he has 33 touchdowns all year, so he nearly doubled his total over the last 4. He also can clearly step up in huge moments, most recently that 4th and goal 31-yard touchdown pass to win the game. His great momentum could also help Alabama take down Georgia, and if he can, his Heisman stock is going to go through the roof. But just like Carson Beck, Jalen Milroe doesn't have the most appealing statistics in college football. He is a phenomenal quarterback, don't get me wrong, but the fact that he was basically benched earlier in the season should give an idea that maybe he shouldn't be the Heisman winner. His early season performances give a nod to his momentum, but also to his lack of consistency and resume to pull together a Heisman chance. Other quarterbacks also have the momentum that he's currently having, so he doesn't really deserve to be put anywhere higher. Just like Beck, he may fall into the top 5 if he can find his way to have a great performance against Georgia. The final underdog is actually last year's Heisman winner. Caleb Williams may be in a load of controversy after some 2023 performances, but the statistics don't lie. He's still a very solid candidate for the trophy even if he's listed as an underdog. Williams' positives start with how he's still retained top tier success in 2023. He may have regressed a bit, but 41 total touchdowns is still a big number to achieve. Besides, his defense was so bad that other quarterbacks looked like Heisman candidates even if they struggled all season, codenamed Dante Moore. Also, he's still got the best combination of quarterback traits and should be the first QB off the board in the 2024 NFL Draft. I like Williams as a player, but yeah, he concerningly regressed. He had 52 total touchdowns last season, and his pocket presence also took steps backwards. He's been unable to lead USC even with his bad defensive performances, and even if those performances are historically bad, he's still struggled to have an answer for it altogether. History is also not on his side, as only Archie Griffin has won back-to-back Heisman trophies, doing it in 1974 and 75. Even then, the pushback on Williams is still a little much, even if he regressed. He will likely sit out the team's bowl game, so why don't we respect how elite Williams' college football career was? There are a few skill position players that show out every year and end up becoming finalists for the trophy. And there are 3 of these guys who I truly believe may find their name on the ballot even if they don't win the award. How about future generational talent Marvin Harrison Jr.? He has up to this point basically replicated his stats from last season in a year where he should have been looked at for Heisman. Now, he looks to finally get into the voting for the 2023 season. First off, he has stepped up against elite teams this season. 8-163-1 against Maryland, 11-162-1 against Penn State, and most recently 5-118-1 against Michigan. He's run the table in some games, and in others, he's made Kyle McCord look like a Heisman candidate himself. He's put himself out there as a threat everywhere on the field, and most receivers can't do that like MHJ can. When you look at the negatives though, you see that they compare to the underdogs. The statistics are not enough. Besides, there is a receiver that's better than him in this section, and we'll talk about him a little later. But Harrison doesn't have a great resume for Heisman this season. He's also had some dud games like Notre Dame and Indiana, but those don't stack up with how elite his big games were. Harrison Jr.'s season might be over unless they can sneak into the playoffs. Blake Corum is yet again the most statistically appealing running back in college football. While he may be short of 1,000 yards, he's still being looked at near the top of the pack, and honestly, he could be placed in the top 5 finalists once that comes around on the 3rd. Corum's numbers start the conversation. He is 100% a game changer, and while less than 1,000 rushing yards and 4.8 yards per carry is not the most appealing, his 22 rushing touchdowns is. He's a game changer in the grand scheme, and the Heisman Trophy epitomizes that. He's also faced plenty of tough run defenses behind a mediocre run blocking line, and that also can show with Donovan Edwards regressing to 3.4 yards per carry. Corum is that power back type of guy, and that will definitely help you at the next level. But going against him, his statistics come from a lot of solid performances with minimal great ones. He has only 2 100-yard games this season, and in double-digit performances, he has 2 games with 3 touchdowns. Purdue is a prime example, as he ran the ball 15 times for only 44 yards, yet 3 touchdowns. These are 100% good performances, but not having that 100-yard 3+ touchdown game is going to hurt him in the grand scheme. Corum and the Wolverines have a Big Ten championship game left, and that is his final opportunity to prove himself worthy of being on the ballot. I said there was one wide receiver playing better than Marvin Harrison Jr. That man is LSU's Malik Neighbors, likely the skill position player with the best odds to take the trophy. I like Neighbors to be a Heisman frontrunner, and unless the committee decides to go with 5 quarterbacks on the ballot, Neighbors will absolutely be there. We knew how good Neighbors was coming into the year, but he's absolutely exceeded these expectations, going for 1,500 yards and 14 touchdowns this season. What we did not know is that his red zone production is elite, and he helps improve the Heisman stock of quarterback Jaden Daniels. He's gone for under 100 yards just 3 times this season, those games being against Florida State, the first of the season, Grambling State, where the starters were pulled quickly, and Auburn, which, yeah, I'm surprised about that one. He even has a 239-yard performance, which came week 3 against Mississippi State. Now, we have not seen a wide receiver win the award since Devontae Smith in 2020, and he had more catches, more yards, and more touchdowns. It's also just primarily a quarterback award most of the time, so the odds are already stacked against him given the top 3 frontrunners are all quarterbacks, sorry for the spoiler. But for Neighbors, he may break that agenda if the committee is feeling nice. His college career is likely over unless he wants to play in the bowl game. Welcome to the frontrunner section. These 3 guys all have a genuine shot at the Heisman Trophy, and while one of these guys would shock me, they all have had incredible seasons and deserve a shot at the award. Beginning with Washington quarterback Michael Penix Jr. He may be that Stetson Bennett kind of guy, where he may be old, but he's such an impactful guy on the field that he deserves to be talked about for the win, even if it currently seems out of reach. Here is his case. He has elevated Washington to playoff contention, and if they are in, it would be their first appearance since 2016, where Jake Browning was quarterback. Washington may have had a lot of close games this year, but Penix Jr. has ensured that the team does not go down. Across FBS passers with 100 or more pass attempts, he's 2nd in yards, 12th in yards per attempt, 4th in passing touchdowns, 12th in passer rating, 10th in QBR, and 11th in pass completions. He's put together statistically a very nice season. Now, in one of his only injury-free seasons, he has had some concerns. I'm gonna repeat it again. His resume does not stack up to the 2 best guys on this list. It's definitely a good one, don't get me wrong, but he's not even the best quarterback in his own conference. 5 of his last 7 games have included an interception, and he has 8 altogether, which is 473rd across all FBS quarterbacks, and the next 2 guys have a combined 6 interceptions anyways. He's gotten worse at passing the rock as the season has gone on, so honestly, he's lost his Heisman touch. He's still going to be a Heisman candidate in this class, and he sits as my number 3 guy of the 2023 Heisman Trophy. The top 2 are very tight, but my Heisman runner-up this year is Oregon's Bo Nix. It's honestly such a tough call for me, but I have my reasons to refuse Nix a number 1, and instead place him just 1 spot away from the top of the mountain. The main takeaway for Bo Nix is the fact that he leads FBS in passing yards and completion percentage, being the most efficient and effective passer in all of college football. 37 touchdowns to 2 interceptions is seriously no joke. He goes into a rematch with Washington leading possibly the hottest team into a must-win situation. He's 2nd in passer rating, 17th in pass attempts, 5th in yards per attempt, 2nd in touchdowns, you get the point. Nix has been statistically the best passer in college football this season, so why does he lose out on the award? He has 6 rushing touchdowns, but his overall rushing efficiency has gone down since translating to a passer. He 100% has the talent to scramble and move the chains on the ground, but he also gets easily outplayed in that aspect by my Heisman winner. There's also one quarterback who leads Nix in both passer rating and QBR, and he's the winner in my books. So Nix is for sure a Heisman candidate, but he's not the winner for me. The Pac-12 championship is going to tell a huge story on if Nix is the Heisman winner or not. Finally, the elite player that deserves to win the 2023 Heisman Trophy is LSU quarterback Jayden Daniels. Holy smokes, what a year he has had. I obviously will not have a section for why he should not win, since you know he should. But I want to explain every reason why he deserves this Heisman Trophy. Number 1, passing wise, he's made such a difference in the air. He averages 11.7 yards per attempt while being 2nd in yards, 1st in passing touchdowns with only 4 interceptions, 1st in passer rating and QBR, and he's all the way back in 49th in pass attempts. On the ground, he continues to have a fantastic impact. 135 rush attempts for 1,134 rushing yards and 10 touchdowns, and that includes the 22 sacks he's taken behind the line. He's well over 10 yards per carry if sacks don't count towards rushing yards. Finally, a huge argument is Oregon versus LSU as overall teams, with Oregon being in the playoff hunt and LSU not even being in the top 10. Even if Oregon makes the playoffs, I still think Jayden Daniels is the Heisman winner, as without Daniels, LSU is probably not even a top 25 team. In my opinion, the 2023 Heisman winner should be LSU's Jayden Daniels. So there you have it. 9 Heisman Trophy candidates summed up into one video. Who do you think should win the Heisman Trophy? Let me know in the comments below. Well, that's all I got for you guys today. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. If you enjoyed, please make sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel for more content like this. I have a lot of college football content coming out in the next few months, so if you're not subscribed, you're missing out. Once again, I'm Chase Keller from Chase Keller Journalism, and thank you guys so much for choosing this channel as your source of sports coverage. I'll see you guys in the next video.